All right, now joined by Gonzaga head coach Mark Few. And Mark, this is a different team, but one, again, preseason number, I think I had you 2 last year. I think I might have been the only one. I did have Baylor preseason number 1 last year.
That was smart.
But you guys were both terrific.
We were both good. And it was, Jeff, it depended on what night you caught us on and what month you caught us on. I think we were keeping tabs on each other throughout the whole season. And, you could say, like, I remember coming in, like, they're playing better than us right now. And then it'd be like, nah, you know what? I think we're playing better than them right now. And so it just ended up, they had a great night, last one back there in Indy. But I was telling somebody, man, we were from opening tip till April 4th, man. I don't know how many teams have been able to keep that thing going. Number one from, basically in July last year all the way to the last 40 minutes of the season. So it was an awesome run.
And you did it in a pandemic. That's the other part, is to have the 2 best teams, what we thought were going to be the 2 best teams, be the best 2 teams at the end, going through everything that everybody had to go through, especially for those kids, right? To stay focused in a year when it was really difficult to do so.
And this is one of the best home courts in America, to not have that advantage. To walk out here, it was just surreal, and not, have the crowd just roaring, but just teeing it up and competing and not letting your guard down. It was just a wonderful group to go through all that stuff with. Isolation in the hotels, the everything. It would have been torture if you didn't love your team and love your crew, and I thoroughly enjoy hanging with them. It was just a blast.
So I know how much you miss Corey Kispert,
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs, Joel. Yeah. You had 3 studs.
We had Aaron Cook too. Was a great
he was good
year. And so, Jeff, that's the biggest difference. Is we basically have 3 returners right now, that played significant minutes. 2 of them played significant, and Anton came off the bench. It's been an interesting fall. We got 6 newcomers. We're trying to get them up to speed, and it's a lot. I don't know that we've ever had that here. So it's been a fun challenge, but it's night and day difference from last year, where I think we played that first Kansas game, and we probably could have played a game 3 weeks before that. Those guys were.
It was easy. Yeah, they could almost coach themselves to some degree, right?
Sure, they'd been there, done that. Corey had 100-something games under his belt. Joel did. Drew had played a lot. Andrew had played a ton. Coming from Florida and all that. So that's been the biggest challenge, is just, we've had to really dumb things down a little bit in practice just to get these kind of youngsters up to speed.
All right. So let me start with the unicorn, Chet, who I friggin' love. I don't just love him on the court.
Yeah.
I love him off the court because he's got some, Timmy's got some shit to him, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And I think Chet's got some too, and you wouldn't necessarily know it until you're around him. Am I wrong?
Yeah, less brash, but definite. He's got confidence in himself, and it's not arrogance at all. He's got a confidence in himself. He's got a plan. He's driven, and he's very focused and organized on his career, not in a bad way. It's just he's very pragmatic about it. I think you've watched him enough that his physical appearance doesn't belie his toughness.
Exactly.
He's a pretty tough kid, even though, sometimes physically maybe he can't deliver on that toughness, but he gets right back up and gets after you. He's just a joy to be around. He wants to be coached. He wants you to coach him hard. There's a lot of depth to him. Yes. A lot more than just a guy, you would think that everybody that has all these accolades and has been playing this long and all this. So
what's going to be the biggest difference in Drew Timme last year and this year?
Well, I'm hoping. I mean, he's going to have to assert his leadership more. I mean, we literally, Corey and Joel were so unbelievable leadership-wise last year that nobody needed to do anything. I think that's going to be a huge challenge for him and Andrew. And I don't know that that's their personality, you know,
right.
And they're totally different personalities. But I think that, you know, will be his biggest challenge. But Drew's a great player. I mean, he's going to play this game for a long time. I mean, he obviously, we all know how he can score and his footwork and all that, but he's a very adept passer. You know, he's always led the break throughout his years in high school and AAU, and you know, he's very good making the proper decisions there, whether it's to take it to the rack or fan it out to other people or even throw pretty tight window back cuts and things like that. Yeah. You know, I'm hoping that it'll make a jump defensively, moving his feet, so we can switch more things with him. And you know, he's shot the ball pretty well from three anyway. So I mean, I think he'll be able to stretch it out a little more and show some of that. But to me, it's more about the defense and the leadership and things like that.
Yep. All right. The other freshmen. I hate to say the other freshmen because they come in pretty heralded. You know, Hunter Salas, a top 10 kid. I've heard rave reviews about Nolan Hickman, you know, rave reviews.
Yeah, I call him an old soul. He's just like this. He does everything good. I mean, he shoots it good. He on-ball defense is good. He can run your team. You know, his decision-making and pick and roll is solid. He's just very, very, very even keel, mature beyond his years, and just has a lot of winning attributes. Hunter's just a wonderful, positive breath of fresh air when he comes rolling in.
Really?
Again, I probably haven't had a guy that can guard the ball like him, move his feet. I mean, it's legit elite level, and you know, he's done a great job. He's a quick learner, and so he's figuring out all the little nuances and stuff with our offense, where he can be effective there. And then I wouldn't sleep on Caden Perry and Ben Gregg. I mean, Ben was with us last year, you know, was even coming on, and you know, I don't think we're afraid to toss him into even that championship game. And he's had a great summer and fall. He's just a really skilled big man that does a lot of good things. And Caden Perry is a lot like Brandon Clark. I mean, he's kind of like our young Brandon Clark. Yeah. Wow. When you see him, he's bouncy, a little bit bigger. I mean, obviously Brandon was here later, so in his career, but we're very excited about him. He's been committed here for a while, but then missed out on pretty much his whole senior year with the COVID. He had a bad back injury, and he is a force inside and just gives us a totally different entity that we didn't have last year. Rim protection and throw lobs and things like that to him over the top, and another good high energy player. And then lastly, a very, very important piece of this was when we got Rasir Bolton. The pendulum had flipped to new guys, inexperienced guys.
A lot of them.
And we needed to add an older guy. And Rasir is at Penn State, and he was at Iowa State, and he's played a lot of minutes. He's played in a lot of big games. He's had success in big games. And it's just nice having his savvy and confidence out there.
The one, I think, biggest question, tell me if I'm wrong here, would be perimeter shooting with you guys coming into the year. Is that fair or not really?
Literally, Jeff, the biggest question is the youth and inexperience, in my opinion. Yeah, we're shooting the ball fine, but it's just, you know, when you're having to go over pistols defense and stuff, you know, like back to my freshman high school days at Cresswell High School. You know, I just think people This is the most youth we've ever had and new guys in the program. So that to me is the biggest issue. Guys have shot the ball very well, and all of them are good shooters, and some are even better than that. And then the bigs now are shooting the ball really well. Anton Watson's had a really good summer shooting it.
Really?
Timmy's stretching out there and doing it. Chet can obviously shoot. Ben Gregg can really shoot.
What can Chet not do, Mark?
Well, he can't bench press 225 pounds.
That's for sure. That's for sure. On the court, what can he? I mean, I guess
again I think the thing, I hope everybody just kind of gives him a little bit of a break in, just like we played KD when he was a freshman at Texas, and you could clearly see he was going to be really, really good, but he wasn't the best player in the world at that point. Right. These things need to take time, especially with the developing bodies and all that. So Chet, he's still going to need time. He's learning how to deal with. He hasn't just came in here and dominated by any stretch of the imagination against this group of guys. He's had some bleak days, but the beauty about him, like we mentioned earlier, is he almost relishes that and comes back from it and doesn't pout and doesn't.
No, he wants to be coached.
Some mental and physical toughness about him. Yeah. But look, he's going to have to see how he's officiated. If guys are able to put their hands all over him and push him and shove him and do all that. But he's on a growth plane right now, and we get to enjoy it while he's here.
Last one about the team, Strother, a guy that we didn't see a ton last year, but probably needs to take a jump this year. And what do you kind of foresee from him this season?
I'm hoping what we saw in that exhibition. He played great in the exhibition. He's arguably one of our best shooters, and he was hunting shots. We're on him to become a better rebounder. I think he's kind of embracing that a little bit. And again, he's going to be a big factor this year. I think he's definitely primed for a much, much bigger role than he played last year. And certainly off one, sample with the exhibition, he really, really stood out. I think we want to say he led us in scoring. It was a big loss when we lost Dom Harris. We lost Dom Harris kind of to a turf toe fascia deal that was serious that he had to have surgery for, and that flipped us from experience to inexperience now. And Dom was a guy that was going to play a lot too. He was around us enough last year and got in games, but just didn't, wasn't, with Corey and Joel and Jalen and Nemhart, all these guys in front of him. And we haven't talked enough about Andrew now. I think Andrew Nemhart.
Yeah, we haven't talked at all about
point guard,
right,
as there is in the country. He is an elite level ball screen in ball screens. He's a very, very underrated on-ball defender. He's bigger, I think, than people think. He's a legit 6'5", and shoots it good. Plays with great pace. He and finishes well because he has such good size. He's a very, very, very good player, and was so instrumental in our year last year, but just was fine, kind of just laying low.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, he wasn't even supposed to play. He comes in, he plays, and he accepts a role that isn't nearly as big as probably what he thought he was signing up for after sitting out the year. So,
but I think if you really looked and you talked to our staff and even our players, like when there was big baskets or big plays that needed to be made, we usually put the ball in Andrew's hands in a ball screen because we knew
he made the right decision.
The right decision was going to get made, and things were going to, we had some supernovas that could do unbelievable things, but they could also do like,
Suggs. Listen, Suggs was ridiculous.
Andrew and everybody, but I mean, with Andrew, you knew the proper basketball decision was going to get made.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, it'll be interesting to see him, and I assume he and Hickman will play together. And they're both just high IQ point guards who know how to play. And, I mean, you look back at all the teams that have won it all over the last however many years. What do they have? Multiple point guards.
Yep.
I mean,
and that's what we had last year. We had that last year with
You've had it multiple years.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the new way to do it these days. If you don't have multiple guys who can, handle the ball and run the offense and make plays for themselves and others, boy, and then you're relying on one guy too. And if he gets hurt, then you're in trouble. Where at least for you, you'll have a young guy learning from Nembhard too. I mean, that's the other beauty of this with Hickman. All right, so I made my reservation already for the Davenport. I'm gonna be out there next Saturday for the Texas game.
3 of them downtown, so all 3 of them are nice.
I haven't been there in a while. I haven't been to. I'm so looking forward to getting to the kennel, and I know you're looking forward to having the fans there. For me, I could not be happier about getting out there. Texas. I have Texas.
Texas is unbelievable. I mean, when you start really looking at their guys, they're like all conference guys from
all the way down the line,
and logged a lot of games and years. I mean, their experience is off the charts, and I know they're all coming together, but having that experience is huge, and the success they've had there. Like I said, I mean, Marcus Carr, all Big Ten, Timmy Allen, all Pac-12. The kid from up your way was, I don't even know, I think he might have been player of the year in the
Trey Mitchell
or something.
Yeah. He was the best player in the A-10.
I mean, then they got senior guards. It seems like they've been there forever at Texas. I mean, that is an old team.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a huge challenge for us.
No, it'll be fun. Where are you taking me on Sunday? Are we going fishing? We playing pickleball? What are we doing?
I don't know. We'll probably have to sit and break down the tape, and hopefully we'll be in a good mood, not a bad mood. So
all right, that's fair. Yeah. I'll sit down. I'll break down the tape with you. Hopefully you'll have a smile on your face, and you won't be upset after that one.
There you go.
All right, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.
Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for BetRivers yet, now is the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, it's more secure, and it's more reliable. Now that basketball season is tipping off, get in on the action at betrivers.com today, or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while I got you here, let's talk about the Field of 68 Media Network, where college basketball matters most all year round. This is a digital media and podcast network that we've been building over the course of the last year. We have shows hosted by some of your favorite players covering the program that they love the most. AJ Guyton hosts the House of Hoosier. Eric Devendorf covers Syracuse on the Scorer's Table. Dan Dickow hosts the Gonzaga Bulldog broadcast. We have Florida's Patrick Young and Duke's Andre Dawkins and North Carolina's Shammond Williams and Michigan's Stu Douglas and Illinois' Deion Thomas. The list goes on and on and on. We have more than 30 shows right now. So hit the links below and check them all out. And while you're at it, make sure that you go check out the Field of 12 Media Network, your home for college football.
All right, that was Gonzaga head coach Mark Few. And now talk a little more Zags. Who better to turn to than Dan Dickow, former Zags star, hosts a pod on the Field of 68. And Dan, you got to give us some real insight here into the Zags this year. We know what we got with Drew Timme, right? Like, there's no question we know what we got, which is, to me, the clear cut, preseason national player of the year. After that, there are a lot of questions with this team, aren't there?
Well, I think they're fun questions to answer if you're Mark Few, and they're fun questions to track if you're a Gonzaga fan, because the plethora of options are mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong any direction you go. I mean, you could go big and start even a Julian Strother at the 2. Anton Watson at the 3, and then Timme and Holmgren. You could go small, which they did the other day in their first exhibition game. They played 3 point guards at a time. It was Bolton, Hickman, and Nemhart had a stretch together. And then Salas, he's going to be right there, the freshman from Omaha. So it's going to be real interesting to see. I don't think you're going to see a true rotation for quite some time in this season. Coach Few's been, typically as an 8-man deep rotation, a 9th guy occasionally, if someone's absolutely proven it in practice or there's foul trouble. But there's going to be lots of fun questions to keep an eye out early in the season.
So what do you think of the unicorn so far, otherwise known as freshman Chet Holmgren, who's 7'1", who's maybe, I don't know what you're tipping the scales out right now, Dan, but I guarantee it is more than Chet Holmgren.
No, I'm luckily, he tips it at 195. I'm still below that number, which is great considering I'm more than 10 years removed from playing. So, the thing about him is I've been to a number of practices so far. I called the first exhibition game is people have made way too much about his lack of size and strength. And I don't think he has a lack of strength. I think he plays with a lot of force, in particular at the offensive end. He understands angles really well. And he, for the most part, is the guy that is kind of putting the contact into the defender as opposed to the defender attacking him. So he's the one that's the aggressor more times than not. And then when you do that, you're the one putting on foul pressure. You're the one in control. You're not being reactive. And so I think that's been talked about way too much ever since I can remember kind of hearing about him and seeing him burst on the scene. Defensively, from what I've seen in practice and at games, it's not going to bother him too much. He's going against, in practice, a lot, one of the best duck-in bigs in the country in recent memory, Drew Timme, with his footwork, his timing, his ability to duck in with angles and creating, space through his strength. So he's had to deal with it his whole career. And defensively, he can combat it because he's so long. He's going to block a ridiculous amount of shots, but he's going to alter a bunch of shots. And then defensively on the perimeter, he presents an opportunity for Gonzaga to switch if they want. And he's so long, he can gap a guy so far where he could still contest a shot where most people would be like, well, kid's wide open. Right. That's not the case with Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, and what impresses me as much as anything, you kind of alluded to it, is the toughness. Like, he doesn't look the part. Like, he looks skinny. He looks like somebody that would shy away from the contact. Instead, he embraces it. And he's got some shit to him too. Like, he's got some stuff to him that I think most people, when you look at him, you're like, and he'll say this, he'll be the first one to say it. Like, people underestimate me. They look at me and I'm this like dorky, gangly kid. And I go out there and I can play with anybody and get stuff done. All right. The point guard spot, like you said, multiple guys. Nemhart's obviously the holdover, and now it's kind of his opportunity. He's a pass-first guy, not the most athletic dude in the world. And then you throw Hickman in the mix. I don't know, is Salas, I haven't seen him enough. Is he more of a scoring point? How do you see them? They like to play with 2 points. Do you see it being something, can Nemhart and Hickman play together well, or are they both more pass-first guys?
No, that's going to be a fun one to watch for me as a former point guard. And, I completely agree with you. I've said it ever since I played for Coach Few. His best teams, they play 2 ball handlers, 2 decision makers at all time. You go back to that first 99 Elite 8 run, Matt Santangelo, Quentin Hall, myself, and Blake Stepp. And then you had a number of other 2-point guard headed teams, and those are the ones that typically advance. Nigel Williams-Goss and Perkins is a great example. With this, Nemhart, is one of the best pick and roll players I've seen at the college level in a while because he's so patient and he makes the right decision more times than not. He was close to it wasn't quite, but it was close to 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio last year, which is mind boggling. If you're 1.5 to 1, that's a good assist to turnover ratio. Hickman, I've seen him play a lot since high school, and he's a creative passer. He finds guys. You don't think they're open, he finds you. I think he's good in pick and roll as a freshman. He'll get better. I think where he can really improve is the consistency in his outside shot. But that just comes with reps. That comes with time. I mean, there's nothing wrong with his mechanics at all. It's just getting reps, getting comfortable at the college level. Salas, you mentioned, to me, he's more of a 2, but he is a big-time athlete. He won the dunk contest at their, open public scrimmage. He got some great buckets in transition the first exhibition game. He can handle it and make plays well enough for others where in a pinch you could put him in a point guard spot, but I don't think that's his strength. And then Bolton's been a big surprise to me every time I've been to practice. I never saw enough of him, probably because he was at 2 programs, to be honest with you. I don't really stop and watch Penn State or Iowa State.
They weren't good.
Yeah.
You do. They weren't very good, Iowa State.
Yeah. And he averaged, I think 15 a game. And, the question marks are, can he shoot it? And does his athleticism translate? Well, his athleticism definitely translates. And as of a couple weeks ago, when I talked to Brian Michelson in depth, they stat everything in practice. He was far away their leading percentage 3-point shooter through probably the first 2.5 weeks of practice or so. So again, it's like which direction you go. To be honest with you, I don't think you can go wrong.
Strother, you mentioned. He's probably the one guy that needs to emerge, isn't he? Because they kind of need that. They need that position, that size, that experience. How's he look so far?
Tremendous. I mean, I liked him last year. Coming out of Nevada, 3-time All-State, over 2,000 points in high school. But the thing is, were you really going to take away minutes from Corey Kispert or Ayayi last year? I mean, you really couldn't. I mean, those guys needed to be on the floor. And that's the beautiful thing about Gonzaga so many times is guys might be ready to play, but they also understand the bigger picture. Coach Few does a really good job of through the recruiting process, letting guys know the big picture. Unfortunately, occasionally there'll be guys that transfer because they want to speed the process up for them because every kid's different. But he did a really good job last year of understanding and not rocking the boat, and he's had a great off season. I mean, he had 18 points in the first half of the first exhibition game the other night, and he did it in different ways. He did it in transition. He did it, he hit one little floater that was nice, and then he found open areas at the three-point line. So I think he can be as versatile scorer from that big guard wing spot Gonzaga's had in some time because, Kispert really wasn't a slasher. He was a three-point shooter. He developed a little bit of that, put it on the deck his senior year, but Strother's a much more dynamic type scorer.
All right, so with all that said, Drew Timme, not a big-time shooter from the perimeter. Chet Holmgren, we don't know yet how he'll shoot it from the perimeter. He can. I mean, I've seen him do it. Hickman, you said, he's still got to work on that area. Nembhard certainly got to work on it. You know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know where I'm going. Is the perimeter shooting the biggest key and question mark for you this year from a Gonzaga team that has had no issues shooting the ball over the course of its run here for 20 years? Is this the team that we worry about a little bit of, like, they're going to need to shoot it from the perimeter?
I think it could be. I mean, if you take out Corey Kispert's three-point shooting ability a season ago, they only shot 33% from the three-point line. I touched on this during the broadcast of the scrimmage that we did here regionally, and 33% from the three-point line doesn't intimidate anybody anymore. You got to be creeping up as a team close to 40 really to kind of, put it on the scouting report, run all these guys off the three-point line, make them try to score in the mid-range. But again, the guys that we've mentioned, Nembhard, he's a good enough shooter that he's going to keep you honest. Hickman, the same thing. They can get on a roll. I think Strother has shown the ability that I've seen in practice and now in an exhibition game that you're going to have to respect him at the three-point line too. But they don't have like you're kind of alluding to, they don't have a true knockdown shooter. But as I mentioned about Bolton earlier, the numbers he shot early in preseason practices would make you think that was him, but his history through 3 years wouldn't make you think that.
Right. All right. Well, listen, I will see you next week. I'll be hitting the Davenport for the Texas game. So looking
Nice.
forward to seeing you hopefully for the Texas game, and maybe you'll buy me a beer on Sunday. So good.
Hey, that'd be great. I know I've got a game I'm calling for CBS myself, so I'm getting back in time. My son, my third grade son, will have a game that day, so it depends on his game time if I make it to the Texas game. But fingers crossed that I'm able to make it to both.
Well, maybe I can hit a doubleheader, right? See your son's part of your son's game, and then hit the Texas Gonzaga.
Yeah, I mean they're ranking kids as young as third grade now. Maybe give them the number one title in the country.
Evaluating. I'm not.
I don't want that
elementary schoolers. Okay, not going to happen. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, and make sure you stay tuned. All the Field of 68 info, preseason info we've got out there, and certainly we'll have the nightly show pretty much every single night after dark. So make sure you stay tuned.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff.